Alrighty, guys, welcome back to another episode of Tea Talk. Today I have my co-host with me, Dom, and today we have a special guest. We have Louis Olsakovsky. Louis, how's it going today, man?
Pretty good. Yeah, it was a good day. Just got off the golf course, so really can't complain.
Any day golfing's a good day, right?
Exactly. Yes,
You'd like
sir.
to think.
Uh,
So Louis, we're just gonna start this off. Tell me a little bit about, where you're from and your background when you were first kind of introduced to golf.
yeah, so I grew up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. School district I went to was Upper St. Clair. So I grew up, playing kind of all kind of sports. The first sport that I really loved was baseball. So since I was a young kid, I, loved following the Pirates and everything and was super into baseball. And yeah, I know, even though they were losing all the time, but I'd still sit and watch every single game. Um, but yeah, so I was playing travel baseball growing up, and then golf was only something that I did a little bit of the time. It was something that I liked to do, but no one in my family really played golf, so I wasn't really exposed to it a whole lot. But one of my buddies that I played baseball with, his dad was a really big golfer. So he started taking me and my buddy out to play pretty much every week after baseball tournaments and stuff. And that's pretty much when I started playing golf consistently. And that's when I decided, golf was something that I wanted to do, for the rest of my life. And then also, a big person that got me into golf was my Uncle Bryce. He lives in San Diego, and he actually lives within like 3-4 miles of Torrey Pines. So growing up, I was super into golf, and every time we'd take a trip out there, he'd take me out to Torrey Pines, and we would play. So, that was a nice treat. So as an 8-year-old, it's pretty tough not to be convinced to start picking up the clubs after that, really. So
Yeah,
that's kind of how I got to the game.
definitely probably easy to fall in love with golf from that standpoint. So, I guess kind of fast forward a little bit. You start playing golf a little bit. You play in high school. How did high school go? What did that look like for you?
High school golf was good. It was still a point in my life. I loved the game of golf, and I did it every day. And I'd get home from school and immediately go to the golf course. I grew up playing at Frosty Valley Golf Course, which is like a public 9-hole track in St. Clair. So I would just go there and kind of beat balls and stuff. But high school golf was good. I wouldn't say I was ever the best player in high school golf. I was always decent, because I worked hard. But I was never really the best. But I just loved playing, and I just kept at it. So
Yeah.
So I got a question for you. So like me and Ben we both played, baseball back in the day. We
yeah,
played through high school. How big of because everyone, when you go out and play with it, like baseball players who still play baseball now and they go play golf, their swing they had the famous baseball player swing with the golf
yeah.
club. How much do you feel like that gave you an advantage playing golf, or like was there a bigger mountain to climb being a baseball player transitioning into golf?
I feel like personally being a baseball player growing up, it definitely helped. That hand-eye coordination is really key. In baseball, you're hitting a moving target, and in golf, it's just kind of sitting there.
Yeah.
So, you know, conceptually, that's a little bit easier to get your head around. But I feel like if you're a baseball player and a hockey player, you definitely got a good shot at being a pretty solid golfer. Because, in golf, you got to utilize the legs a lot. That's the main driver of the swing. And in baseball, obviously, you're firing your hips real hard when you're swinging, and in hockey, when you're taking a slap shot and stuff. So, if you play baseball, I think you're well ahead of the curve as to someone who's not. So I think it helped me for sure.
I agree.
Yeah.
I felt like being a baseball player kind of gave me not an advantage, but coming into golf, as every baseball player knows that feeling. It's like you're good until there's everyone else is better.
Yeah.
So and then you go pick up a golf club for the first time. You play with some buddies. You play with a parent or a family member. Then it's like, oh, this is a lot more fun, and you're able to use it. It's like, oh, I feel athletic on the golf course. Since golf's taking that very athletic turn nowadays. You don't see very many bigger, out of shape guys on a golf course. A lot more leaner, just athletes. So I
Yeah.
think baseball really does help towards being a good golfer.
Oh, for sure. Dom, when did you decide you wanted to start playing golf? How did you get into the game?
So I played baseball throughout, even through high school. About my freshman year of high school, a few of my friends played, and my dad used to play back in the day. So I was like, I'll pick up the sticks. I have a few uncles that play. I was about the average, I guess, for a freshman golfer playing for the first time. I put some things together. Nothing consistently. I'd shoot like 48 on 9 holes in a high school match, and then as I was playing, I realized my talent with baseball kind of plateaued because my athleticism stopped being better than everyone else. And you were able to be kind of like not as great as an athlete in golf. So I kind of, I started pushing my efforts towards golf. I enjoyed it a lot more. And I ended up, at, a few practice sessions here and there, I guess you could say. I ended up here, and now I'm Mount Union. Met Ben. Ben's a little bit better at. I feel like he has a little more talent than I do, but I like to say I have the Youngstown grit that Ben doesn't have.
Yeah.
I'll give it to him. I'll definitely give that one to him. But so we're talking about high school. You're coming into your senior year. What did college look like for you? What did that college aspect look like? Did you know you were going to play college? Did you have any offers, any looks?
Yeah, so for me it was a pretty unique process. So ever since I started playing golf, my number one goal was to go play Division One golf somewhere, and I worked really hard to be able to achieve that goal. And um, when I was going through the recruiting process, there were a lot of schools that were Division One schools that I was talking to, but never like super in depth. They would just say like, we'll keep an eye on your scores and stuff. So, I never really had a huge connection with any Division One school coming out of high school. But luckily, the one school that was there the whole time was Allegheny College. And, if I wasn't good enough to go play Division One golf straight out of high school, Allegheny was kind of the perfect college for me to go to. Went to Allegheny, and it was perfect for me. I had a lot of friends that went there that were on the guys golf team, so that made it comfortable. And the golf program there was really good as well. They won a national championship in the 80s, I think. And then they also had, I don't know if you guys know who Nathan Smith is, but he's a amazing amateur golfer from the Western Pennsylvania area. But he's won. Let me see. I think he's won the U.S. Mid-Am 4 times, and then I think he won the U.S. 4-ball once. And those 4 Mid-Am victories got him into the Masters. So he's played in the Masters 4 times, which is kind of nuts. So he went there. So there was a history at Allegheny of just producing good golfers and winning championships. So for me, it was kind of a perfect setting for me to go to Allegheny and just work as hard as I could there.
So now go ahead, Fisher. You have something to say?
Yeah. So every golfer, we have this mentality that when you were getting recruited, did you think like, because you said you worked at it, did you have the feeling that you could have been able out of high school to be on a Division One roster? Do you think you needed that year or so to develop and grow your game more at Allegheny? Or do you think, so when you're getting recruited, every golfer thinks they can go out and shoot 100, 200, and so on. They think they can exceed their own expectations. When you were getting recruited, do you think you were able, like they were kind of not looking into enough to how your game was? Or do you think you needed this stopping point at Allegheny, a great program, to go to the next level?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I feel like I always had that belief in myself that I was good enough to go play on a Division One team, and I think that I was right out of high school. my junior career, while it wasn't amazing, I feel like I did accomplish some things that were pretty good. You know, I qualified for U.S. Junior and played in a Junior PGA as well. So for me, I always kind of felt like I was a little bit overlooked, but also my situation was relatively. It was interesting because going into my senior year of high school, I got sick, and I was pretty sick for. I didn't have any offers, and I was still going through that recruiting process, and I was losing weight, getting sick, and I actually qualified for the U.S. Junior like right in the middle of like when I was the worst. I think I was like 110 pounds and like almost 6 foot tall, so I was really lean. And then literally the next day, I was went to the hospital, and things. I ended up getting it fixed, but 3 days after getting out of the hospital, I went down to the U.S. Junior to play, which was in Tennessee, and I got to kind of meet face to face a lot of the Division I coaches that I was talking to during that recruiting process. And it almost would have been better if I didn't, because like I was literally a skeleton at that point. So that couldn't have helped. And I went into that week kind of understanding that I wasn't going to play well because I was in a hospital for a week beforehand. I think I came in almost dead last, but I was just happy to be there at that point. But which stinks because I feel like I was playing some pretty good golf beforehand, and it was just unfortunate at the timing of that. But once I got healthy, going back to Allegheny, I feel like my game was right back there. But yeah, when I did get to Allegheny, I just continued to work at it and get better, and I had a pretty good season from there.
Yeah, we'll touch on that good season.
Mm.
I know. So I guess we can take it back a step. So
All right, cool.
his girlfriend is my girlfriend's sister. There it is. And so that's how I met Louis, and I just wanted to throw this in there. We were kind of looking at some like old pictures and stuff, and I had no idea you and Liv played in. I don't know if it was like Drive, Trip, and Putt or like U.S. Kids together.
Yeah.
So
No,
yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. So I just wanted to see if you could touch on that for a second.
Yeah, it's pretty cool because I feel like you go through life and you're like, it's weird. My future soulmate could be right next to me and I can't even know it. And for me, it literally was like I was growing up, and I didn't know Olivia until I got to Penn State, but she was a golfer as well, and we played in literally the same tournaments like multiple times a year together growing up. But there's this picture of us when we were about 9 years old, 10 years old or something, at Robert Morris, which is like a big golf dome in Pittsburgh. And it was funny because we both won and they took a picture, and there's Olivia and me in the same picture, and she's literally a couple inches taller than me. And now I'm like, a foot taller than her, but that's pretty funny. Even today, I'll go through like old tournaments and stuff, and I'll see like, oh, we were there at the same time, which is so weird.
That is weird, but it's definitely I bet a big bond point for you guys. Having
Yeah.
that's always gonna be something fun to look back on. But I guess we can kind of get back to where you are. So your freshman year of college, coming in, feeling like kind of probably got something to prove. How did that go?
Yeah, it was. I feel like when I got to Allegheny, I kind of left like my Division I hopes in the rearview mirror. I kind of just wanted to focus on, because we had a really good team, and my whole mindset the whole year was just to win a national championship and try and build like a team that we'd be able to do that. So I went to work with kind of that mentality. So coming into the year, just started working really hard. We had this hitting bay at Allegheny, which was the greatest thing. It was right behind it was basically a storage closet behind the basketball court in the gym, and it wasn't big at all, but you could go in there and just hit as many balls as you want. And like a lot of the times I would get in there at 9 o'clock and they closed the gym at like 9:30, and they would never know you're in there. So I would just practice from like 9 to midnight a lot of the times.
Did you have to pick those
But
balls up yourself?
what was that?
Did you have to pick the balls by yourself, or did you guys?
Oh, it went straight into a net, but we had a launch monitor, and
Nice.
yeah, so it was pretty sweet. So we could actually like play virtual courses and stuff,
Nice.
work on distances. So that was one of the perks, and it was about a 1 minute walk from my dorm room, so I was there all the time.
Yeah, spend a lot
But
of time.
yeah, the season went well. I started out, I won Carnegie Mellon's tournament, and that was really like the first tournament I ever won in my life. So that was a pretty cool thing. And then the next week we played in Mercyhurst's tournament, and I ended up winning that as well. So, I never, 18 years of my life, I never won anything, and then it happened in back-to-back weeks. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. So you win those back-to-back tournaments. You said you kind of lost that Division I hope. Did you kind of like start feeling it again? You're like, you know what? I might have something here.
Yeah, I think it was once the fall season ended is when I really started thinking about it a little bit more. Because I won those 2 tournaments, and I think we played in 3 others, and I think I was top 5 in the other 3 or top 10 in the other 3. And I think one of them I just didn't feel like I really played that well. And I just kind of I wanted to continually try and push myself, to play against better competition. So it was during winter break when I reached out to a couple schools, and I'm pretty sure Penn State was the first one to get back to me. So they got back to me and just told me, they'd watch my scores for the rest of the spring. And then, I didn't play as well as I did in the fall during the spring season, but during our conference championship, which was kind of the big one for me, it was a 3-round tournament, the NCAC conference, and that was at a course in Ohio, but I ended up winning that tournament by 9 shots, and so that was pretty cool. I don't think I ever played a tournament that well in my life, and it was nice because I think I probably needed to play that well to be able to prove to a Division I team that I really was worth taking a shot on, and it was just kind of perfect timing for me. But it was nice because that whole like all that work that I put in, like growing up playing golf and when I was at Allegheny, because it's something that I wanted ever since the time I was like 10 years old, was to play on a Division I roster. So when I finally got the chance to do that, it was just, I was super appreciative for that opportunity, like, because I feel like some people, it comes to them easy. And for me, it was such a long road, and it was like a tough way to get there, that I was just really grateful to be there once I got there.
So I've never had the ability to win a tournament, let alone win by 9 strokes.
Mm.
So after you put on I'm gonna say dominant, because that's what it was. You won by 9 strokes. After you put on a performance like that, it's like how do you like, going to the next tournament? How do you set the standards where it's like, okay, I know I'm not gonna win every tournament by 9, but how do you not get content with like, okay, I just won by 9 strokes. I'm that guy. You kind of still have to keep the same mentality of like, I was overlooked going into college. I did all these drive, chip, putts. You did all those contests as a kid, and all
Yeah.
these tournaments as a kid. How do you keep that same like chip on your shoulder after you win, 3 tournaments after not winning any?
Well, I mean, after that one, once I did get the chance, so after I won that tournament, I didn't get selected for the national championship for Division III, because I think that our team didn't make it, and it's really hard to make. I think they only take like 5 people or something, which is kind of crazy. So I didn't qualify for nationals. So for me, it was just kind of straight into summer golf. But for me, it was kind of easy to still have that chip on my shoulder, because I finally got the chance to play for a Division I school, and now I got the chance to prove to every other coach that didn't accept me that was like kind of a mistake. At least that was like my mindset. like I could specifically remember this one coach in high school telling me just in an email that I was not good enough to play for his school. And I could happily say that we kicked their ass every single time we played it at Penn State. And it was like the best thing ever. So, he was a cool guy, but that really did feel nice.
Nothing had to be said either. It's just like,
No.
here's my scorecard, turned it in. That's it. So that summer then, like, how did that transition go? Like you said, coach was gonna be looking at your scores. You win. Does he reach out to you? Did you reach back out to him? How did that go?
So that whole spring, we kind of just had a mutual understanding that because we weren't able to talk to each other since I was playing for another school, but I got a release form, which kind of allowed you like minimal contact with them, but they really couldn't say anything or give you an offer until the school year was completely done with. So the NCAC tournament that I ended up winning was, I think, the
Uh-oh. Come on. Come on back. Oh, what?
That was weird.
Gotcha.
And like right after that tournament, the season ended, and then I was able to talk to Penn State. And shortly after that, they brought me up for a visit, and then offered me, I think, the week later. So
That's awesome.
yeah, so that's kind of how that went.
That feels so good. It's after all those coaches, like you said that you would never play on our golf team. You're not good enough. After being overlooked, finally getting, you get that offer, you go. Well, you go, and they're like, okay, we're going to offer you a week later. That just was like a weight probably off the shoulders.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was really surreal. I mean, like I said, it was something that I worked really hard for, ever since I was 11, 10 years old, and for it to actually like come true, because like a lot of the times, like it just doesn't happen. It just doesn't work out. So, for me, I wouldn't have wanted it to happen any other way. Like even though, like I didn't go to a Division I school out of high school and I went to Allegheny. Um, I wouldn't have wanted to worked out any other way because that all happened for a reason. I got to go to Penn State and I got to, play for an amazing school and meet some of my lifelong friends and meet Olivia. And if it wasn't for me, if I would have gone to another school out of high school, my life would be completely different. So, yeah.
Definitely. And it all worked out. So, I mean, you get to that, like, hey, like you said, this is my dream since I was 10, play Division I golf. You get to it. Were you nervous going into that, or what was your kind of your mentality going into that? A little nerves or no?
So going into it, I was just really excited to just get to work and like actually, because once I got to Penn State, that was like the first time that I really had like a really nice practice facility where I could actually like work on my game. Like we had a short game area and we had a nice range with nice grass and good balls and stuff. So for me, I just wanted to, start and get to work right away. But I didn't make the team. I didn't really start my first year at Penn State. We had 5 starters returning, all 5 of our starters, and they were all, playing for multiple years. So it was definitely tough to get into the lineup. But I just kind of took that year sitting after that. But I just kind of took that year just to tell myself like work on the things that you need to work on so that, once next year rolls around, you'll be able to, contribute to the team. And I feel like I did that pretty well. I changed a lot of things in my swing. I started hitting a cut, which was different. I used to hit a draw.
Yeah.
So I changed to a little cut. And once I started doing that, my, ball striking and control over the flight was much, much better. So, that year I got a couple opportunities to play as an individual, but, it didn't really start. But I feel like that was definitely an extremely important year for just as my growth as a golfer, for sure.
Definitely.
So, as you went from Division III to Division I, Me and Ben, clearly Division III golfers. How, everyone talks about there's not that big of a gap. It's like a few different things between Division I and Division III. What is the actual gap between a Division III golfer to a Division I golfer?
Mhm. I would say the biggest gap is that's a good question. I feel like the biggest gap is just a little bit more control over the golf ball, like keeping it in play 10% more. I feel like once you get to the higher levels, then it starts becoming, the way people think, the way people prepare for a tournament. That's a lot different. But I'd say just between the average Division I and Division III player, it's just a little bit more control over the golf ball, I would say. Um, I feel like when I played at Allegheny, there were a couple players in the field that had the ability to like go low and shoot under par. But at Penn State, playing against Division I teams, it was kind of like everybody in the field had that ability to go out and shoot under par, whenever they wanted. So, I feel like that was probably the main difference.
It's kind of just like it's just the old saying that their misses are here while everyone else's misses are here. One of those things. They don't get doubles. Their bad holes are bogeys, stuff like that.
Yeah, I feel like one thing that gets preached a lot, at least within our team and then the other teams where we were around, was just really focusing on the biggest thing that I learned at Penn State. Like there were a lot of things, but I feel like as a golfer, my abilities didn't really get a whole lot better from when I came into Penn State versus when I left. Maybe I got 10% better at driving or chipping or putting, but learning really how to manage your way around a golf course and, you know, um, learning to manage your expectations about what's possible with the shot and being happy sometimes hitting it to 30 feet. That was probably the biggest thing that I learned. And it's a ton of mental stuff that just goes into playing good golf, like being able to control your emotions, and it's a ton of stuff, and going through your pre-shot routine and backing off your pre-shot routine if something bothers you, like a lot of nitty-gritty stuff like that kind of gets overlooked but is so important to being a really good player. I feel like that gets stressed a ton at the Division I level for sure.
Yeah, and definitely like I've played with Louis before, and you can kind of see it. I'm not even trying to just gas him up here, but you can kind of see the control, like just especially off the tee is where I saw it the most. It's like you can't score on a hole obviously if you don't get the ball in play in position A, and you can't. It's hard to make a birdie when you're not in position A, and so I definitely think that's the part. I not think Dom can attest that is the part of my game that I'm like I need to like definitely work on the most. But again, you can never work on too much short game. But so in college, how did your career go? I see here it says your stroke average for your career. Oh, it says your stroke average is you were fifth all time at Penn State career, 72.93. Does that sound about right? I don't know. I just want to check. I don't want to throw any stats out there that aren't right. So
That sounds right, but I wouldn't say it's an official fifth best,
yeah.
because according to the statistics, you have to record over 100 rounds in your career,
Man,
which was tough. It was tough for me
That's a lot of golf.
as a transfer coming in, but I think I had around 80 or so rounds. But yeah, that does sound about right. I think it was 72.9 something. But yeah, it was a good career. I could honestly say I worked as hard as I could to be the best player that I could be in every tournament. I prepared as hard as I could and maybe cared about it a little too hard at times. But I just really cared about the way that I performed. But my I would say my senior year and 5th year is like when I really started coming into form as a player, and everything started to click. My 5th year at Penn State was probably the most consistent golf that I played in my life for sure, for an extended period of time. Got to have some high finishes in several, pretty solid fields playing against, some of the top teams in collegiate golf. So that was really rewarding because that was like the first time in my life, I got to see my name up, like even with guys that were, playing in Palmer Cups and Walker Cups and stuff. So that was a really cool thing to see for sure. And then, to cap it all off, me and my teammate, we received individual bids to the NCAA regional tournament. And I ended up not playing well, but that was kind of, it almost felt like the icing on the cake. It gave me another tournament to play in my collegiate career after Big Tens. But, me and my teammate, we were, I think the first 2 people to do it since I think 2012. So,
That's awesome.
yeah, so that was a nice way to end it all. But, I'm super proud of, my career at Penn State and, just trying to do the best that I can for the team.
So after Penn State, what's next for you? What can we expect from Louis after this? What's going on? What's your next plans? We think about, am I going to see you on maybe Augusta one day? What's going on?
I mean, that's the goal. So yeah, I graduated last year and turned professional shortly after that. And I got to play a couple professional events last year, but mainly just local stuff. I played well in the PA Open last year. Was able to like make some money from golf, which was kind of cool. But obviously not enough to make a living. So you find out soon enough that professional golf is very challenging because it's very expensive. So right now I'm trying to be as resourceful as I can. So I'm working a full-time job right now. So kind of everything that I save is kind of investing right back into myself, into my golf career. So just coming up this year, I have the US Open qualifier coming up. Going to play in the West Penn and PA Open, and then the big thing is Corn Ferry Q School, which is coming up in the fall. So everything's just kind of getting towards geared towards doing that. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm up to. I'm trying to find different ways to find time to play golf because obviously it's time consuming working a big job. So waking up in the morning and working out and then trying to squeeze in golf after work. So, but as of right now, it's going good. The game feels, pretty good shape.
Yeah. How is it balancing that? I mean, like in college, like, yeah, you're very busy, it's all about that time management. And then, you get to this point, you're working full-time job, coming back, and you're like, all right, I gotta maybe grab a quick bite to eat, get to the course. What does that look like for you? What does a day look like now compared to college?
Yeah. So, I mean, I was literally just thinking about this today because, now it's like I'm finding every minute of the day to like kind of squeeze as much as I can out of it. Because I am booked up from, I work 10 to 6, so I am booked up for those hours. So for me, it's just about finding time in the morning and then finding time immediately after work. So, I think Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I'm getting up like around 6 and going to the gym and working out, and then coming back home, eating, going to work in the morning, and then I go into work three days a week now, downtown Pittsburgh, and then get home and then just kind of eat and go to the golf course, and then try and get to bed at like 11 and do it again the next day. But it's way different from college because in college, like, you are working hard and you do have a lot of time, but you do have a lot of time to focus on golf, at the same time. So for me, I would say I'm working much harder now, like just trying to get every minute out of the day. When I was in college, it did feel like I was working hard, but this is kind of like another level because, 8 hours of my day are already taken away for that.
Yeah, definitely. And that's just where it comes down to passion again. Like you said, like you've
Mhm.
been passionate about this, so it's like why stop? It's
Yeah.
you have this vision in mind. You've done it once, you've made that goal once, so
Uh,
it's like, hey, let's hunker down and do it again.
yeah.
So yeah, so Dom, do you have any other further questions? As long as his career goes, we have a little segment or two that we're gonna ask you
Yeah, so
after.
I have one more. I have one question for you because I've always wondered this.
Yeah.
So, growing up and even in high school, I never played in like summer tournaments. I was kind of, COVID derailed my 2020 senior year.
Mhm.
So I kind of like, I guess, backdoored into golf. Mount Union was like a school that I wanted to go for just for school in general. And then golf was offered on the side. How important would you say are like the USGA juniors and stuff like that to build your golf, I guess, your name in the game of golf and your golf game in general?
Yeah, I mean those tournaments are those are big, but those I'd say those are kind of like the top end of those junior tournaments. I would say if you're getting into golf, you know, and you want to kind of try and build a resume, you definitely want to start out just playing like local tours. I know the Pittsburgh has those Kings tournaments, and I think they're called the Isleys tournaments now,
Yeah.
but start playing in a couple of those if you're younger. And then once you start getting a little bit older, like, eighth, ninth grade, getting into high school, I would say the biggest thing to play in that a lot of college coaches are looking for are AJGA tournaments. Try and get into those tournaments because that's where, all the college coaches are looking. But even like playing stuff like the West Penn Junior or like, wherever you are, like the California Amateur or whatever, or California Junior, wherever it is, play as many of those tournaments as you can for sure.
Definitely, yeah. And I didn't play, I started kind of like with golf too. I didn't start until sophomore year of high school, but that's
Uh,
where I found that's where I found a lot of progression, I feel like, in those summer tournaments. Just like, I played in a lot of those Isleys ones. They're cheap to get in. They were cheap to get into, and some like good competition to keep me going for when I get back to in season. So it keeps my like competitive level up. And I think that was something that was pretty important for me. So
for sure. Yeah. You gotta play in tournaments if you want to test yourself, You gotta play against people that are a lot better than you too. That make you realize, hey, we got some work to do.
yeah, definitely.
It's one of those things that you realize, after it's one as someone who didn't play in those tournaments ever and just thought they were kind of not a waste of time, but thought they were just like something that the golfers who were very good since the beginning played in. I did, I, I have a very grit and grind game. I'm never, I haven't narrowed my game down to one thing I'm very good at specifically. So I haven't played those tournaments because, like, $50, whatever to get into, that just felt
Uh,
like money that I was kind of just like, okay, I'm going to put $50, shoot whatever, not win and thing. And then this, summer coming up, I've realized after talking to people like Ben and talking to you
uh,
now, it's like how important those are, not to get your name out there, but like, okay, what the person I'm playing with, they might shoot one under. What did they do differently than I did in the same spot or something like that? So
exactly. That whole process of playing tournaments and learning from people that, are better than you is such an important thing for golf because there always will be people that are better than you. Even if you're the one of the best players in the world, there's somebody out there that's better than you at a certain asset, facet of the game. But you know, like also just losing and failing is so important to like actually growing if you could like be willing to accept that, if you fail and you completely accept it and take ownership for that, that's kind of once you accept that, that's when you kind of realize like more things are gonna open themselves to you, more room for opportunity. So I feel like that's a super important thing in just play against people that are much, much better than you, lose to them all the time, figure out why they're beating you, and then one day you'll start beating them. That's kind of how you get better.
Yeah, there's nothing like I've played in some just some summer golf at my local course, and there's some pretty good players out there at Hannistown. And when you shoot, I think I shot 74. When you shoot 74 and you're the highest in the group by 4 strokes, it's like, man, okay, I see it now. I can see what and again, and when you're playing with those guys, just seeing, and like you said, the biggest thing for you is learning how to get around the course, how they manage it is like something that's like, okay, they just put themselves in this position. Now I totally see, how they capitalize on these opportunities.
Yeah.
And that's, something I definitely learned from being out there and playing some difficult courses. So, but now we'll kind of get into this last segment. So it's called rapid wrap up. And so we're going to give you 30 seconds on the clock, and we're going to ask you some questions before we wrap it up. Dom's going to ask you the questions, and I'm going to do 30 seconds on the clock whenever it's the first thing that comes to your head.
So there's some golf questions, some non-golf questions. Just first thing that comes to your head, and then we're going to go right now. Favorite on-course drink?
Arnold Palmer.
Favorite course you have played?
Oakmont.
Dream course to play?
Augusta National.
Favorite golf brand?
Titleist.
Favorite song right now?
Anything Luke Combs.
Oh man, hat or no hat on the golf course?
Hat.
Dream golf partner?
Olivia, my girlfriend.
First celebrity crush?
Jennifer Aniston.
Great answer. Hit every fairway or never 3-putt?
Never 3-putt.
Perfect.
That's pretty good. We had one question left.
Not bad. What's the last
What was
question?
the last question? Yeah.
Our last question was live or PGA?
Oh, PGA. Yeah.
Come on, this guy.
I got a teammate that might say differently, but PGA.
I don't know. After this last event, I'm kind of on the fence. That
Yeah,
looked quite electric.
It was pretty cool. Although those people down there, down under, they're starved of golf, so
Yes.
they needed some of that.
They're getting what they can.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Louis, thank you for coming on.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll put his social medias down in the description. It was fun. Thank you, everybody. This was another T-Tug podcast. My name's Dominic with Ben. Make sure you like, subscribe, and follow all the social medias. They'll also be down below. It was great. See you guys next time.
Yep, Louis, thanks again.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. It was pretty cool. And props to you guys for, starting your own podcast and actually doing it. There's a lot of people that say like, I'm going to do something and they don't end up doing it. But, props to you guys for actually doing it and like having fun with it. So just keep it rolling.